The submission of Journey's End to Microsoft and Sony has of course already happened, but while we wait for the update, here's a comment made by ReLogic's Loki on Discord, reminding console Terrarians about what will happen to their versions of Terraria once this patch arrives. Timing after submission depends on how long they take and what, if anything, they want fixed. Exclusives will be gone, replaced by normal items or coins. Your existing saves should transfer over. If there's some issue, the system keeps the existing ones such that once a fix is done, you can try again. But Loki was also on Twitter and on the official forums, providing some input to those of you who were on there asking questions about the recent State of the Game update. By the way, like these Terraria news updates? If so, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, just to support the channel. It's free. And thanks of course to those who've already subscribed. It's most excellent of you. Anyway, I mentioned Twitter, so let's go to Twitter first. Carson Kelly wrote, Loki, once the review process is completed by Microsoft and Sony, and assuming you get the green light to launch right then, will you guys release on the same day, or do you plan on waiting? And if one finishes before the other, will they release at separate times? Loki responded with, ideally launch together. Depends on a lot of factors. Examples including what day that approval is given. For example, we would not want to release a major update on a Friday. How big is the gap between the two, etc. So we will have to really see how it goes. Best answer I can give. Muki was on Twitter as well and asked, gotta ask, I know the console update will be like 1.4.05, do you think we'll get tiny updates like PC, 1.4.1, 1.4.2, etc., which will take a long time, or are we gonna get one more update to have console go straight to where PC is at and get them all at once? It's a decent question, and Loki responded to it with, the planned desire is to parallel path a parity update that would be equal to PC content at the same time. Need to finish 1.4 on Switch and get console out before that can start though. So that was it for Twitter. Now on to the official forums, where legendary Copper Short Sword wrote, do you have an idea how long it might take as an estimate? Referring to the 1.4 patch to be cleared by Microsoft and Sony. To that Loki wrote, not that wouldn't be a wild guess. Just in my time working at ReLogic, I've seen it play out in all manner of timelines. A major update like this tends to take longer than, say, just adding some 1.3.x content. Anything I told you would be likely to be wrong, and then someone would take it as a promise probably. Not saying you personally. Elemental Delta wrote, almost there, console players. We're close to the end. Also, that Destroyer Pumpkin Moon combo looks like a nightmare to survive without endgame armor. So many lasers. And he's right, of course. Here's that screenshot they're referring to in case you've missed it. It was in the August State of the Game update. Certainly a pretty busy screen, isn't it? And Loki did respond to this with, oh, I had it in God mode, was just seeing how hard I could break things performance-wise by slapping it in Master 10 times spawn on Max Pumpkin Moon, and then a Destroyer with a ton of probes out firing. Oh, and with a crap ton of traps going, and a shader cycling off and on via wiring. Definitely some performance hits there when you have that much going on. Pumpkin Moon and Destroyer are notorious performance hogs that I like to use as edge case tests. It's enough to cause even PCs to chug a bit. But still playable for sure. Of course, in the course of normal play, you would be very dead before any of that happened. These are the things I try to do when I finish my main playthroughs. Can I throw so much at the game at once that it crashes? Basically. Loki, you're a monster. But DR Studios seems to be coping with what you're throwing at their work. Revelize writes, I was curious on the status of potentially moving the in-game achievements to system-wide achievements for PlayStation and Xbox now that they are no longer limited to 100, and potentially making them co-opable on a single system, similar to how games like Minecraft handle it. Was there a conclusion to this? Perhaps still investigating for 141? Loki's response was, there are other rules that limit what can be added achievement-wise. We also have the older achievements, where we can only edit those so much, and they create tons of potential conflicts with your idea. The internal system is here. There will likely be some new scored or official achievements. I just wish we could have done more, but we were limited due to reasons. I'll just add that Terraria is quite old now, obviously, under the hood, and while there have been some recodes for the ports of the game, there are plenty of features that ReLogic staff have said that they would like to add but can't, simply due to the limitations with the core of the game. One of the things I recall being mentioned was them not being able to add different background layers for the player to move into just because of engine limitations. I'm sure these will be lessons, though, that they'll learn from and maybe pivot from when they design their next game. But moving along, Terrarian wrote to Loki, "Answer my comment already, please. I want to understand that." Loki was a little confused with what he was referring to, writing, "What exact comment is that? I mean, it's pretty much as it has been described in the back and forth in the total. Each month, whatever news on whatever is going on that is able to be shared is shared. Mobile folks haven't had any huge news in months because they already have Journey's End and they understand that it's console's turn. And then the console folks will understand it's Switch's turn. And then, if all goes to plan, the drive to parity for all. After that, well, we've said we're going to take a shot at crossplay. We will see how that goes. After that, we shall see. As for our other projects, we'll discuss them when the time is right. I believe we learned a powerful and costly lesson in the past about speaking to new projects in detail before they are ready." And with that conclusion, he's referring to the ill-fated Terraria Otherworld, which never saw a release despite numerous trailers and spoilers being leaked. They've said repeatedly in relation to that they regret announcing it before it was further along. Whatever they make next, it'll likely be a while before we get any screenshots or videos of it, and who can blame them? Generating Username wrote, "Forest biome statue looks great. I might have to get it." And Blue Mage was there before Loki to write, "That will cost you an arm and a leg." And they're talking about this. And I have to admit, I didn't realize how expensive it was. I had some sticker shock just looking at it myself. It's a little too rich for my blood. But Loki provided some context for the high price and wrote, "Unfortunately, that is driven by the underlying costs. The folks at Animegami Studios broke all that down for us when we saw the price for the first time. It really is what it is, and it's not like AGS is making some gigantic profit margin either. Definitely not for everyone, but that's how that high-end collectible market goes. The 9 months no interest payment plan is a great thing, though. I know I'll be punishing my wallet for one, but that's me. The good news is that we have a ton of other options for players that want some cool stuff but don't have or want to shell out that kind of cash on one piece. We have a lot more coming soon as well, hopefully in time for the fall and winter. Well, as I said, it's definitely too rich for my blood, but as Loki says, it's a niche product for enthusiasts. And there's plenty of other good Terraria merchandise out there for the rest of us. Anyway, that's it for now. In the days ahead, I do expect to hear news or even just straight up talk about the release for PlayStation and Xbox Journey's End, so stay tuned to the channel for the updates. Thanks again for watching, and also, as I mentioned earlier, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, just to make it easier to track new videos and of course to support this channel. So thanks again, take care everyone, stay healthy.